Hello, 你好, welcome back. 欢迎回来 Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on October 19, 2022. Now, if you have seen my video the past few months and also the videos from last year, probably around this time, probably some of you have thought to yourself, boy, Johnny Tiger is starting to look like Johnny Lion. He needs a haircut. Uh, I know every time I speak to my mother on the phone, she's telling me, you need to cut your hair. It's starting to look like a girl. Honestly, I enjoy having long hair because I myself kind of like the look. Although, I'm totally blind, so what do I know? Maybe I look horrible with it. I don't know. I mean, some people like it, some people hate it. I will tell you this much though. Having hair like this, especially long and really heavy hair, it's tiring when you are training. Honestly, I remember, was it late last year when I finally got a haircut and went back to short hair for a while. And while there was a part of me that really missed the feeling of long hair. Uh, there's another part of me that felt like, wow, I feel so good when I'm training. It's like when you're used to this long, heavy, sweaty hair when you're training, and then you suddenly cut it. It's almost like wearing a weighted vest and then taking it off, and you feel like you're not getting tired. You feel like your endurance going through the roof just because there's not all that restricting weight and extra bit of resistance around your head. So that's good and bad. There's a pro and con. And I do remember the first time I went to the studio after I got my last haircut, and one of the students walked in and he said, "Whoa, I didn't realize that it was you at the punching bag. I thought it was some new young guy. You look so much younger when your hair is short." So yeah, I don't know. Hey, maybe you guys give me some feedback in the comment section. Long hair, short hair. Tell me what you think look better on video and stuff like that. Uh, I'm not saying that I'm going to go with the majority. I'm just going to take it into consideration if you tell me your thoughts. I think I just invited a whole bunch of trolls to go in the comment section and calling me a girl and stuff like that. But hey, you know, I trust in my fan base. I don't think there's that many trolls that have the great taste in subscribing to the channel. Anyway, enough preamble. Um, I spent all this time talking about my hair because today we actually are going to talk about one of the older profession, uh, which is barber or hairdresser. Now, technically, they're supposed to be called barbers. Um, a couple of episodes ago, was it 2 or 3 episodes ago, when we talked about the lady of the night, the working girl, I mentioned that in China, there are a lot of brothels that disguise themselves as barbershop, as hairdressers, beauty salons. So this feels almost like a little bit of a continuation, shout back to that episode. So, barbers. What's really interesting about barbers is nowadays, when people walk in to see a barber, they usually are feeling quite good about themselves. I'm coming in and getting my hair cut and going to feel great and going to look good and all that stuff. So it's like going to get a haircut nowadays. It's a good thing, but it has not always been like that. In fact, for a huge part of Chinese history, when people saw a barber, it was not a joyous occasion. Most of the time, this was an occasion to be feared and grieved and try to avoid that barber at all costs. But before we get too much into that, let's share some vocabulary, shall we? To get a haircut in Mandarin, it's called li fa. Li fa. Leefa. Li means to clean up, to cut, to trim. Fa means hair. 头发. 头发 is hair. So li fa is to get a haircut and or to cut someone's hair. Uh, the barber, the hairdresser is called li fa shi. Li fa shi, she, but it's not pronounced she, but it's pronounced shi. The word shi is from 师傅, shifu, as some people like to call me. It's a master, teacher, or the professional. So whatever, blah blah blah, shi is the guy who's professional at doing something. 老师 is a teacher. 理发师 is a barber, a hairdresser, and so on. 工程师 is a uh, guy who's like an engineer. Uh, uh, 厨师 means someone who's a chef. So usually when you're talking about someone who's a professional of something, there will be a 师 at the end. So 师 is a very important word, very important vocabulary. Uh, by the way, if you are trying to get the attention of somebody like a taxi driver, bus driver, or uh, even someone who is cleaning your gutter or someone who is fixing your plumbing, you don't know how to address them, you can just use 师傅 or Shifu if you want that more Cantonese pronunciation. But Shifu is a way to address or approach and address a professional person. It makes them feel good when you address them. Hey, Shifu means hey, pro, hey, boss, hey, master, that kind of situation. So when you want to call when you want to get the attention of the plumber or even the garbage man, don't just say, "Hey, garbage man." You can go, "Hey, 师傅." That's a very respectful way of addressing them. Now back to barbers. Like I said, for the longest time in Chinese history, barbers were to be avoided. They were not your friend. Reason being, Chinese people view cutting hair, uh, and even shaving your facial hair, as one of the biggest sin. This comes from the belief that every inch on your body, your hair, your beard, your organ, your muscle, your skin, your toenail, your fingernail, your teeth, everything on your body came from your parents. They are a gift from your parents. So if you like, yeah, we all shed hair, we all shed skin cells. That you cannot avoid. You cannot prevent that. So if it's natural or an accident, if you get into an accident and you lose an arm, that's not your fault. But if you voluntarily go to someone and say, "Hey, cut off my hair, shave off my beard," if you voluntarily do something like that, it's viewed as disrespectful to your parents, disrespectful to your family, to your ancestor. You're wasting what your ancestor, your parent has given you. So for thousands of years, Chinese men didn't really shave their beard, like especially after they became adults. It's just a big no-no. To shave your beard is disrespecting your parents. To cut your hair is to disrespecting your heritage. Uh, Now, I'm pretty sure they still cut their fingernail and toenail because I don't remember seeing or hearing about ancient Chinese guys had super crazy long fingernail, toenail. So I don't know how they explain that one. When I find out, I will let you guys know. Maybe that was counted as one of the necessary evil because if you don't cut your fingernail, after a while you won't be able to function. So maybe that was like counted as a necessary evil. Like if a tooth get infected, you have to get it pulled. So in those cases, maybe it's okay. But to get a haircut was not okay. To shave your beard was not okay. There were times when people say that if you shave your face in the old days, you it would get you laughed out of town because people would think that you are a disrespectful person. You are like a child. Um, so in those times, we are talking about uh, hundreds of years ago, but this tradition lasted for thousands of years. Barbers were not someone that get hired to give you a haircut because you want to look good. No, barbers were uh, working arm in arms with executioners and torturers in that capacity. So barber back then, they the only time people would get a shave and a haircut was as a form of punishment. Now, nowadays, this is hard for us to understand nowadays. How can that be a punishment? Getting a haircut, getting a shave feels so good. You're so clean. Like, how can that be a punishment? But back then, again, let me emphasize this. To get a haircut, to shave your face was disrespecting your heritage. So if someone forced you to do it, like if you did something naughty, and then the magistrate said you are going to get shaved, you are going to get a haircut, that's like nowadays. Let imagine if you do something naughty now, and then you go to the police station, and then the police tell you, okay, to punish you, the punishment for your crime is you have to walk naked on the street for the next 2 weeks with I am a criminal painted on my chest. Yeah, imagine it's about that kind of it's like that. It's very, very shameful. Back then, for thousands of years, this was the biggest emotional punishment, psychological punishment that could be brought upon a person. This was serious, serious punishment to get your hair cut and to get your face shaved. Uh, this would shame some people so bad that they would rather commit suicide rather than having it done to them. You guys have all seen it on TV or heard story of back in the old days, if a warrior could cut off the other warrior's hair, this was a big disgrace to the other warrior. Like if someone cut off your ponytail, someone cut off your braid, you pretty much are obligated to spend the rest of your life trying to pursue that person and kill them and get that braid back. Otherwise, it's a big shame to your family. It's a big smear on your honor. It's worse than getting killed. So, getting a haircut was like that. You know, if you did something naughty and they want to cut your hair and shave your face, this was a big deal back then. Some very serious capital punishment. This obsession with keeping body parts was shown in many Chinese literature. Uh, one is in the case where during the romance of the Three Kingdoms, uh, there was a very famous general by the name of Xiahou Dun in proper Mandarin pronunciation, who got shot in the eye with an arrow during combat, and he pulled the arrow out, and his eyeball, was attached to the arrow. Okay, this is really scary stuff, but this is how badass the guy was. The guy pulled his eyeball off the arrow, and he said to himself, "I cannot waste anything that was given to me by my parents. It's a sin. It's a disgrace if it was to waste any body part." And he popped that eyeball in his mouth and swallowed it. He swallowed his own eyeball. He didn't throw that. Didn't even want to throw that away. Like, wow, that's some scary stuff. Now this was a case of extreme, right? I mean, and mostly fable, legend. We don't know if that actually happened historically, but another instance where it proven that how serious people were about their hair. This one was historically true. Again, during the time of the Three Kingdoms, the warlord Cao Cao tried to put himself on a good side with the farmers. So he made a decree that any of his soldiers, if they rode their horses uh, over someone's field, if their horses damaged the crop, they have to get their head chopped off right away. So soldiers have to watch where they were going, where their horses were stepping, and if you damage people's crop, you get your head chopped off. One day, when Cao Cao was out leading his troop, a bird flew right in front of his horse, and his horse got spooked and ran sideways into a farmer's field and squashed a whole bunch of newly planted sprout and seeds and basically damaged the field. Cao Cao obviously he because he made that decree if you if you damage people's crop you have to get your head chopped off. Immediately he pulled out his sword and wanted to chop off his own head, but obviously his bodyguard and ministers and other people working for him wasn't going to allow him to do that. So they basically stockpiled him, grabbed his arm, and like, yeah, you can't cut off your own head. You're our leader. You can't do that. You're our king. You're our lord. You can't do that. And so rather than cutting off his own head, Cao Cao compromised, and he took a lock of his own hair and chopped it off and showed it to everybody, and he walked around, letting everybody see that he lost a patch of hair uh, to wear that as a badge of punishment. That was his shame. Now, nowadays, if we look at this story, we go, "Oh yeah, what the heck? He just cut off a lock of his own hair. He let himself off easy." That's not the case at all because back then that was almost worse than death. To cut off your hair, that was to like I said, like walking around naked, let people see your embarrassment and shame every day. So that was definitely not how Cao Cao letting himself off easy. That was a very uh, good substitute for chopping off his own head. So when did barbers finally become like okay, like the good guys? Um, it wasn't until the last dynasty in Chinese history, the Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty started around. Uh, Let me think. I got it. 14. 66. Actually, no, sorry, 1644. 1644. That's when the Manchu people invaded China and took it over, and the last dynasty in Chinese history started. 1644. The Manchu people, a lot of you that if you don't know that, Manchu people were a warlike tribe from northern China, and they, like a lot of warring tribal people, had a tradition of shaving their head. It's more clean and all that stuff when you're out there riding around the desert every day. So when the Manchu people took over China, they decided that if we are to rule these Chinese people, we need to make them to be just like us. So the first Qing emperor decreed that if you grow your hair, you will get your head chopped off. The only way to keep your head on your shoulders is to shave your head. So to grow your hair during that last dynasty in China was death penalty. Okay, no joke. It was. This is why when you look at depictions of Chinese people in the Qing dynasty, it's they shave their head and they have a long braid. So that long braid is the only part you can keep. The rest of your head have to be shaven. Uh, just a little bit of a segue. Um, a lot of time when you see it on TV, that braid look really cool. Okay, when you see it on TV, some people braid have they're really thick and full and they have shape to it and that's all for movie. Okay, that's Hollywood. That's movie magic. Back then, you are not allowed to do that to that braid. Back the rule was if your braid was thicker, if too thick to fit through the hole inside a silver coin. Some of you know that back then the coins they used had a hole in the middle, so like a donut. Okay, so that hole is very small. Uh, if your braid is too thick and you can't fit through the hole inside in the middle of a coin, you get your head chopped off. Okay, so the braid you see people actually walking around wearing would be so skinny. They used to call it a rat's tail. That's how skinny it had to be. If it was too thick, no good. You have to lose your head. You get put to death. So suddenly there were millions and millions of Chinese people that have to get their head shaved regularly. And that gave birth to the first legit barbers in Chinese history. People actually uh, saw an opportunity. If I get good at shaving other people's head, I can make money doing this. So that's how barber finally became a force for good rather than being someone who gives people some extremely messed up form of penalty. Now, here's some interesting little trivia. Do you know what apprentice barber had to go through to before they were allowed to work on people? When you become an apprentice for a barber, uh, what the barber, your master, will do is teach you. Okay, this is how you hold the blade, and this is what the motion you do. And here's a water. Here's a winter melon. What is a winter melon? Well, it's like a watermelon, but it's kind of fuzzy on the outside. Imagine if a watermelon had a baby with a kiwi. Yeah, that's a winter melon. So winter melon, it's, generally speaking, are about the size of a human head, and it's kind of fuzzy on the outside. So as an apprentice, you have to keep shaving, practice shaving that winter melon with your blade every day until you can show your master that you are so good at doing it that you can shave the winter melon without damaging the flesh. You can peel off the fuzz on the outside without damaging the tender flesh inside. Once you can prove that you can do that regularly, then you are allowed to work on some customers. Yeah, so that was a safeguard. You don't just learn it and start practicing on people. You practice on a vegetable first until they're satisfied that you can do it without cutting off people's ear or cutting open people's scalp. Don't forget, back then there's no safety razor, and it's not like nowadays everything's pretty safe. Back then, barbers have one tool only, and it was a straight razor. It was like a razor blade as sharp as a scalpel. So one little mishap would end up with a very injured and unhappy customer. This leads us to talk about what happens when you have to shave the head for an emperor, right? Think about it. I mean, when you're shaving the head, when you're doing a haircut for a civilian, if you mess up and you nick them with the blade, no big deal. Okay, you maybe give them a couple of free haircuts and give them some money or pay them off. It's whatever, no big deal. But if you are cutting the emperor's hair and then you nick the emperor, never mind nicking the emperor. Even if you didn't do anything wrong and the emperor just suddenly say, "Ow, that hurts," you are done. Right away, no argument whatsoever. They take you outside, chop off your head because you tried to damage the emperor. In the beginning, when the Qing Dynasty first announced this whole everyone have to shave their head thing, every year there were many, many eunuchs. We talked about eunuchs before. Many eunuchs who got put to death because they were cutting the emperor's hair and something bad happened. Eh. Finally, and one of the eunuchs by the name of Luo, L-O-W, Luo, came up with what could be called the granddaddy of safety razor. He took a razor blade and covered it on both sides with bamboo. So only a tiny little slice of the blade is exposed. Now the blade is much more secure, and even if you mess up, it doesn't cut very deep because it's only exposed on one side and very little. So it can shave hair, but you can't really do much else with it. And this became such a popular thing for the emperors because another big problem with emperors getting their haircut was, hey, here's the emperor and here's the barber with a straight razor in his hand. I mean, are you kidding me? What if that barber was a spy or an assassin? Like just one quick swipe, bye bye emperor. That was a big security concern for the emperor and the emperor's imperial guard and everybody involved. So when Luo invented the first ever safety razor in China, this solved the security problem because now this safety razor there's so little blade on it that even if you want to kill the emperor, it's unlikely that you are going to succeed killing the emperor. You might be able to hurt the emperor, but you won't be able to do much. And this became so popular with commoners as well because now people don't have to worry about losing a ear or losing a nose or getting gashed wide open by the razor blade. So Luo became known as the grandmaster of the barber, the hairdressing profession in Chinese history. Luo, by the way, is not only the grandmaster of barbers. Luo is also the grandmaster of surgeons because back then a lot of the small, especially external surgeries, like if you got a zit or if you got a wart, if you got a something growing on your skin that's not supposed to be there, it was all taken care of by your barber. You didn't go to doctors for those things. So barbers back then were sort of similar to uh, surgeons or plastic surgeon or dermatologist. They had to take care of hair. They have to take care of cutting off uh, uh, skin tags and warts and lancing pimples and all that stuff. They did all that with that one razor blade. You go to a barber and you say, "Hey, I got this wart on my nose." The barber said, "No problem. Here's a jug of whiskey. Drink this down." And then he go to his fire, and the fireplace, and then he heat up his razor blade, make sure it's all nice and sterilized, and then he takes that razor blade and cut off the warts on your nose, and then he'll cauterize it for you and give you bandage and all that stuff. So even today, when you go to a professional barber shop in China and Taiwan, I'm not talking about one of those fake prostitution one. I'm talking about a real professional one. You'll see a three-colored light outside on the sign. The light is red, blue, and white. Want to know why? Because this three color symbolizes the long and important role that the barber played in the last part of Chinese history. The red color symbolizes the veins in a customer's body. The red symbolizes the arteries in the customer's body. The blue symbolizes the veins in the customer's body, and the white symbolizes bandages and medical supplies. So this is something that still go on today. That when you see that barbershop has a red, blue, and white light on their sign, that's what those colors symbolize. So with that, we come to the end of this episode. I hope it was interesting, if not so much educational. Uh, I will be back again tomorrow for some Toy Thursday. For now, have a good day, and don't forget to tell me what you think uh, I should do with my hair. 谢谢，and 再见。